Hello and welcome to Political Voice on Voice of the People TV this evening. My name is Masinachi Okafo, and on Political Voice we delve into the heart of political discourse, navigating the complexities that shape our world. Why not join us as we analyze, debate and unravel the latest developments in the ever-evolving landscape of politics, especially in Nigeria. And we have two stories on our radar this evening. And one of them is the fact that the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has described Buhari's regime as 8 turbulent years. And then the second story we're tracking is the fact that Rivers State is in the news again. Rivers State Assembly clears 9 commissioners who resigned from Fubara's cabinet. And these are the two stories we're tracking today. And of course, we have a guest virtually who is going to help us to make sense out of all of these political stories. And his name is Mr. Olusegun Ariyo, who is a political analyst who will be joining us shortly on the show. But before we get into the topic of today, do not forget to join us on YouTube. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are VOP TV Live. Do not touch it. We're going to go on a short break and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu has stated that his government will continue with the various developmental strides of the past APC-led administration, describing the ex-president Muhammadu Buhari's regime as 8 turbulent years. Now, he said this at the public presentation of books on the former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in Abuja. Tinubu said the transportation roadmap of Buhari's regime was a laudable project, adding that his government will complete the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Expressway. He also said eliminating elements of darkness that formed trouble in the country would be sustained, adding that Buhari's regime had done the best in the situation. Now we have with us virtually Mr. Olusegun Ariyo to make sense out of all this conversation. Good evening and welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
So, for me to still say Happy New Year to you, we've heard what the president has said. I want to know your thoughts on that. How do you actually assess what the president has said, continuing the developmental strides and completing projects from the previous APC-led administration?
Yes, the president would have his right to say whatever he feels is suitable for him to compliment the former president, given the role he has played for him, in the makeup of the election. Turbulent years. There are, if you recall, the moderator of the program, Mr. Ehosatu, Professor Ehosatu, used the word, digging from a dry well. You see, every of these pointers, depending on individuals' understanding of Buhari's 8 years regime, okay?
Yeah.
The punch to describe Buhari's regime, Buhari's government as regime, given the relationship they had, in terms of the negativity, where a punch correspondent was asked to leave Aso Rock. So people have their different kind of acronym to describe the president. But when you ask me, what is Buhari's assessment of presidency in 8 years, I will tell you he has done below standard, okay? That is my understanding of how I would evaluate Buhari's governance. Talking about his economic planning is nothing to take home about. There are even the past President Olusegun Obasanjo, described the former president as somebody who lacks understanding on economic policy. The reason you see that there is very low in terms of foreign direct investment, the reason you see that the economic policies, approaches, and planning were very, very bad, and these affect foreign direct investment. These affect the value of the dollar the dollar value. All those things are criteria to which we can determine gross domestic product coming into the country and the ones we have, as at that time. Initially, when Buhari came into power, when Jonathan was there, the dollar rate was 190 to a dollar. But when he was leaving, we all know that the dollar rate has gotten to 900, 1,000 per dollar. So there are many ways people would look at Buhari's government, but given the economic aspect, is one of the poorest approaches to economic policies and planning and development. When you talk about freedom of information, the president, if you recall, the president had arrested many journalists, more than 10 of them that I know. One of them from Bayelsa was kept in a DSS custody for 2 years, 3 years before he was later released. One again was arrested from Daily Trust because of his publication. So many. There are issues of fundamental human rights that went around against the president. But he told Nigerian people that he had never arrested any journalists, but his men, officers under him, arrested many journalists. So there are many issues of fundamental human rights. Now, you talk about governance and politics. The president was very, very low in terms of governance. There are perceptions of issues of federal character principles where they are not considering, all the 6 or 7 geopolitical zones when it comes to appointment. There are many issues that one can use as a criteria to say that the president was below average in terms of assessment.
All right, now
that's my take.
Okay, now you have the opinion that the president performed below average. That's the former president of Nigeria. But then, our now president has come out to say, you know what, I'm going to follow through the path that he told when he was the president of Nigeria. And is that not supposed to be something worth being worried about? Because now you just mentioned, having your opinion, that the former president did not do so well. And our president has come out to say that he's going to continue from where he stopped. And the fact that he's aware that, that he had 8 turbulent years and there was a lot of things that happened during his regime. So do you think that the president made the right comment? Do you think he made the right comment?
That word is political. That word, I would describe that word as a political statement.
Why
the
so?
same president, when he was campaigning, he never used Buhari's achievement to campaign. He was using Lagos. Lagos State, his efforts in Lagos State is what he was using to campaign. And this is what his media team were using to campaign all over Nigeria. And this is what has been going around. We look at Lagos State, there is infrastructure, there is network of road, the economy is this, the revenue is highest in the whole federation. All those things were what they are using to campaign. So using the word, the Buhari is going to follow through Buhari's toes on what he has done. What has he done? Why didn't he use the Buhari's achievement to campaign? He didn't use the president's achievement to campaign. He rather used Lagos experience, Lagos achievement that he has made to campaign. So that I would describe as a political statement. That's my view.
So now, the president also mentioned the fact that he would continue and complete and prioritize the completion of the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Expressway for the country's infrastructure and transportation system. Now, we have a lot of insecurities in the country. We have a lot of kidnappings, a lot bombings, and just a lot going on in the country right now. Do you think that's what the president should actually focus on, rather than tackle the insecurity issues going on in the country?
That is what the president is trying to refer to. Because before President Buhari left, there is still question, about the security of life and property of the people, especially that Abuja-Kaduna way. There is the reality of how kidnappers derailed a whole train that was going to Kaduna and kidnapped a lot of passengers, and they took them to the beach. So Maybe that is what the president is referring to, that he was going to take charge from where he has stopped. Although the president would give that to him, averagely he's been able to, curb the insecurity of the nation. We would not totally take that away from him. Initially, before he came on board, you would agree with me that Abuja is not safe. Everywhere bombing from one location to the other. I can assure you that were heavy during President Jonathan's regime, but within the 6 months, before the election, we saw that has came down a little bit. And when the president took over, the issue of about 18 local governments that was taken hold by the bandits and the kidnappers, the Boko Haram people were taken by the armed forces of the Federal Republic. So that I would say that the president has made one of few steps to solve those security issues, but not entirely. When it comes to kidnapping between Kaduna Expressway, it is still prominent. Femi Adesina came on board on Channels TV and he was asked, somebody called on phone and said, if he asked him that he should come and take his car to follow through Abuja Kaduna Expressway, would he go? He said that is not his route and he has nothing to do with it. He is, running from reality. But the reality of the matter then and presently is that place is not so safe. You would hear just about 2 hours ago, the National Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Police, ACP Olumu Adejobi, just sent a press release now that they are going to be organizing a tactical squad that will take charge of Abuja Kaduna Expressway and Abuja Metropolis. There is prominent features of kidnapping in Abuja Metropolis and Abuja Kaduna Expressway. So this has been the development in terms of security lapses, and they are still planning and they are still strategizing, but we are yet to see results, and that is what is happening now so far.
All right. Now, the president did mention that he's going to make sure that, I'm going to say it the way he said it, is going to commit to sustaining efforts in eliminating elements of darkness that formed trouble in the country. Now, one would ask, what was this the element of darkness that formed trouble in the country? What he meant by saying that he's going to make sure and to put in so much effort to eliminate elements of darkness that formed trouble in the country. Can you give us, are you possibly throw more light on what he meant by that?
Yes, I don't understand exactly where he was trying to pick up his explanation from the darkness, but by and large and broadly, if you ask me, I will tell you there is element of darkness that is causing corruption in the country. There is element of darkness that is killing our power sector in the country. There is element of darkness that is making our institution not to work. So if with those three areas that we're talking about, the proliferation of a little firearm in the border of our borders coming on board every day, customs are arresting those, proliferation of firearms, different kind of arms. If that is the area of darkness is talking about, I think is a step in a direction. Matching is word with action, not to just say it. There are a lot of elements of darkness that is causing corruption in the country. People, siphoning our commonwealth, people that is making power not to work in this country. There are many Nigerians who are frustrating the effort of government, who are making the whole system not to work for the ordinary people. If the president can move towards those kind of people, I think the country will be better for it. Maybe from his explanation in abstract, that is where he's directing his narratives to. Only God knows. But from what we have that I can describe in my own understanding as element of darkness, those are the indices I would use to qualify it. I may not get his understanding of what he's trying to entangle, but what is besieging the president and the country at present is the issue of security, issue of proliferation of firearm, issue of corruption, issue of economy, issue of unemployment. All those areas are elements where the devils are working, that he needs to, entangle them to make accessibility, to make Nigerian work again in the way it were in the 80s, before we begin to see all these challenges in the present future.
All right, look, I'm going to digress a little bit. Now, when the former president of Nigeria, that's Muhammad Buhari, was leaving office, he did mention that we're going to miss him, miss his administration. And when this the current president of Nigeria, Tinubu, got into power, he mentioned that the fuel subsidy was removed. Fuel subsidy removed. And ever since his time in office, more than 6 months now, or about 6 months now, it feels, a school of thought would say that they actually miss the administration of the former president, that's Buhari. But then the president seems to, from most of the things that he has mentioned, he seems to be in the interest of Nigerians. But most Nigerians are actually not seeing it that way. They're of the opinion, most of them, or should I say a school of thought, are of the opinion that since he gained power, it feels like we have more of Nigerians that are poor. The dollar rate to naira is something else. The inflation in the is something else. Food has a reason to, God knows how much it is now. Every day you go to the market, things are getting higher. The cost of living is becoming very high. And even most Nigerians are unable to feed themselves 3 times, or not even to talk of 2 times a day. So how would you ascertain all these things going on in the country with the former administration, seeing that it feels like Nigerians are beginning to, does it feel like we're not patient enough to wait to see what the government has in store for us? Or should we say that the people are really suffering from the aftermath of the fuel subsidy removal?
The first subsidy removal to start with is that I would say that I'm not in agreement with the word fuel subsidy has been removed. By the way the president has pronounced it, even though the president pronounced it, ill-timely. Okay, it was ill-timed. You don't pronounce a thing like that, in a speech, inaugural speech of that context. Okay, and the president had accepted, according to I think what I heard from the inner caucus of the president, that I was told that in his speech that issue, that removal that he mentioned wasn't even in that speech. Okay, but in reality of it, I would want to ask that we should base the president assessment within 1 year as a researcher. Okay, when you want to assess a president who has a 4-year tenure, I think there's a need for us to assess him at least on a 12-month basis, to be able to understand where is direction, what are the plan, can check, okay, what are the assessments so far, what can we describe as the best way he has approached all those things in terms of analysis, in terms of approach, in terms of steps, in terms of midterm assessment. How so far has those approaches make any meaningful impact within that short period. All those things can be done at least with a 12-month assessment out of a 4-year term. It's better we do that. But so far so good. The approaches that I've seen, I'm not impressed, but I would not want to broadly talk more in order for me to have a good understanding in terms of economy, in terms of removal of subsidy. Let me even talk about subsidy removal. I will tell you emphatically that nothing of subsidy removal, has taken place.
Why
because
so?
when you look at the local market first, you look at the international market, you would agree with me that there are many occasions where those money, that crude oil had gone up in international market, and there's no effect of such back home locally. So what we see so far is just an increase in the fuel, and then they are trying to moderate it, and they're being silent about the removal of subsidy. The group managing director of NNPC Limited just left a live program on Channels TV now at the Faculty of Social Science, University of Ife. He emphasized again that fuel subsidy has been removed, but some of us some of us analysts disagree, because if fuel subsidy has been removed, by the time, as at that time where the value of the crude oil went up at the international market. We didn't see any reflection of such at the local market, because then we were expecting that the dollar rate, would have affected the local market up to 1,000 per liter or to 1,500. But we didn't see that. So there is something that is shrouded that we didn't know between the marketers and then the crude oil manufacturers, that is the government. So all those things is being shrouded in secrecy that the government know better. We cannot say that there is a subsidy removal entirely.
Then,
I will not agree.
You
then other sector.
Yeah. Sorry there, but you mentioned secrecy and then possibly the government knows better. But if we're talking about transparency and trying to make sure that Nigerians are put in the know of what's happening in the country, don't you think that if the fuel subsidy has not been removed, like the president Totally, yeah. That like the president mentioned. Don't you think that it's only wise that we're being told that this has not been removed totally? Why would the government not come out to say that this has not been removed totally? What could be the reason for that?
Thank you very much. This is a country where the truth is very scarce. I would use the experience of the former Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. I don't know if you have watched his video. He said he was trying to say the truth and then he got suspended as the Emir of Kano. And he went further to say that the NNPC itself should be entangled, unbundled. He went further to say that the National Assembly called for all the documents of NNPC and that till today, none of such documents was presented to the National Assembly, and that they kept it quiet and they shielded it under the carpet. This is an organ of government that is empowered, with oversight function to check all the ledgers, the papers, the transaction of every ministry, department, and agency, but they are not. The former CBN governor, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, said there have been a shortage of dollar income from NNPC into the federal central bank of Nigeria. I'm quoting him now. He said all these things he has given out, on the public glare, and that this was what led to his suspension. So let me remove the word for about the word from all you have said, and then narrow it to what you are discussing. That is, why is it that it's shrouded in secrecy? One of the reasons it's shrouded is the fact that once anybody attempts to go into that details, it will be dealt with. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi attempted to tell Nigerians what is the development. He was suspended as Emir of Kano. So that will give you a broader picture of why we are still wallowing in unnecessary rubbish that is not supposed to be in this country. Things that should be transparent, we keep it we shrouded it in secrecy just because of one certain quarters or the other. And when somebody go into it to say why is it like this, let us know why it's like this. Then if the person is in government or the person in the position of how government can use its hammer, they will quickly use a sledgehammer on it. The Sanusi Lamido example is a good one that we can use to buttress all the points I've just asked here. So that is exactly why you see that all those things is still needing transparency in terms of the allegation of corruption on the basis of showing all that has to do with the accountability of what is being done, in NNPC.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Olusegun Ario. Please stay with us because we're going to take a breather now while we discuss the second topic of today. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We're still on Voice of the People TV, and this is a political voice. Moving on to the next discussion of the show, Rivers State is on the news again. The Rivers State House of Assembly on Wednesday ordered the 9 commissioners who resigned their positions last to take a bow and go on the parliament led by, yes, to take the bow and go. I mean, the parliament led by Right Honorable Martin Amehule invited the commissioner nominees for screening on Monday as part of the 8-point peace agenda signed by Governor Sim Fubara of Rivers State and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike following a meeting with President Bola Tinubu in Abuja during the plenary at the hallowed chamber in the legislative quarters. The speaker read the letter from Governor Siminalayi Fubara requesting the screening and confirmation of the commissioner nominees. The letter, dated December 11, 2023, put to rest controversies surrounding whether or not the governor made the request. In his reaction, the majority leader of the House, Honorable Major Jack, moved a motion that because of the nominees have been screened before, there is no need to repeat the process. As such, they should take a bow and go. Now, the motion was supported by the Deputy Speaker, hence the lawmaker's decision for the commissioner nominee to take a bow and go. The Speaker also complained that the staff in the Government House in Port Harcourt have been declining to receive correspondence from the House. He warned that if the Governor's office declines to accept correspondence from them, then the House will also decline to receive any correspondence from Fubara. It is, however, not clear if the Governor will reply to the latest concern raised by Amehule, an ally of the immediate past Governor Wike. A few weeks ago, we may recall that the nominees resigned their positions as commissioners in the Fubara cabinet, owing to the political crisis between Wike and that's Wike, the immediate past governor of the state, and Fubara, who is the current governor of the state. We'll still have with us virtually Mr. Olusegun Ario, political analyst who has been with us since we started the show. Now, I want to know how you interpret the fact that the Rivers State House of Assembly's decision to allow the resigned commissioners to take a bow and go during the screening process. And you may remember that the 9 nominees who in November resigned, that's last year, resigned from Fubara's cabinet in the wake of the political crisis between him and the immediate past governor of the state, that's Nyesom Wike, because of the feud between the recent governor and the former governor of the state. How do you assess this thing that just happened? Was it supposed to be so? Are they meant to just bow and go, or go through the normal process of the other nominees are going to, of course, go through?
Thank you very much. Thank you. What I would say about on this regarding taking a bow and go has been the normal tradition in Nigeria, and that is the reason why we are still finding ourselves in this kind of quagmire. I say it's a quagmire because, you know, a situation where you are having a, what's it called now, a godfather that is wanting to manipulate the process and do not want a governor to work, you know, and then you begin to wonder what exactly is the challenge. 2 things: interest and monetary value. You are manipulating the governor. You've kept somebody there just because of what you wanted from the governor or the person of the governor, and then you do not see that the people must first of all be attended to in terms of governance and development. But what you see more is your pocket. But in turn, the person who is involved has seen that this thing that he had put his hand may burn his finger. That exactly, you see what is playing there. The governor on his own is trying to be very careful. He does not want to play into their hand. Already the Wike caucus had already played into his hand. They quickly brought the president into it. The president mediated and brought it back into an understanding where both parties can have a soft landing. Yeah. But if in the way it was going initially, it was left that way, Wike cannot survive it. All the members, you can recall that the former speaker has written to the National Assembly, to the INEC, to declare their seat vacant and asking INEC to replace them. So they had jumped the gun.
I think we're having a network glitch there. Okay. Can you
Can you
hear
hear
us?
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can.
Yeah. So all those things boils down to the understanding the fact that the president, the administration of Fubara is just trying to be very careful. What happened is an understanding that was agreed at the presidency, but it's still being very careful. There is a letter that has been transferred to them. The issue of buying or not buying. If you check out the ministers of the present president, you would agree with me that all of them have virtually took a bow. That is the tradition. We can't get a good democracy and dividend of democracy in this kind of development. You can't just come and say that somebody should take a bow and then go just because of the fact that he has been part of the system and that he resigned because of one godfatherism instruction and the other. But look at it legitimately and then sincerely, in the face of reality, in the way things is done in other climes. You cannot have a secretary of state going to the Congress now, and you hear that it was given the opportunity to take a bow without not asking, being asked a thorough questions, many questions about his past and all that. Those things do not happen in Nigerian democracy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So all those things do not happen in Nigerian democracy. When you look at it in terms of a comparative analysis between the US and Nigeria, you agree with me that Nigeria is just coming up in democratic development. Nothing of such in advanced world. But in Nigerian context, at the National Assembly, we saw it happen where those that are competent and even those that are not competent are given the power. Many of them, according to your former guest now, he said that they are just given political patronage. They are not being taken on the basis of merit. So those you see that they have been chosen because of political patronage, how do you expect them not to scale through? They will ensure that they scale through. So they want to take their power.
Why were they asked to get 40 copies of the curriculum vitae and then a lot of other photocopies and other copies of documents for the screening if they knew that they were just going to take a bow and go?
Let me add to what you have said. In the National Assembly, they did not only screen them in National Assembly according to the word screening. They asked they should submit their CV, all their 40 pages of all those CV you are talking about, even to the DSS. At the ministerial screening, but once you see that they don't have interest at the presidency, let me give you an example. The time of Magu was never approved by National Assembly under Saraki government because of the damning report that was written by the DSS. But whether it is written or not, once the presidency had interest in such an individual, they would remove all those clauses and then they will confirm that person. But you saw that even Magu, who happened to be the EFCC chairman, just because of the fact that the man was arresting those that are even the National Assembly member, the distinguished senators who had found culpable, investigating them and all that, he was not confirmed for all the years he had used, and he was eventually thrown out because of his stand. I don't know what may have happened, but the Senate told us under Saraki's leadership that there is a damning DSS report that was written against him, and eventually he was not given that substantial confirmation. So that is the way it is being done at the National Assembly level and even the State Assembly level. So sending your CV, those are just a prerequisite. Whether once they have interest in you, you are going to be given the opportunity. You can imagine this is individuals that have been screened initially before. Now they have asked them to come back again just because of political imbroglio, that fallout between the governor and the former governor. Can you see?
Yeah.
So that is the kind of democracy Nigeria is operating, that we analysts, we are asking that National Assembly should work within their purview of sincerity so that all this process can be strengthened in the law. When anybody comes, we recommend that individual coming for any screening at the National Assembly level, at the state level, should be added with portfolio so that the screening can take place, and the law should be clear that everybody must be screened about their past, present, and then the future, so that whatever they have done in the past, anybody can bring up a petition to contest their appointment at the initial stage, their nomination at the initial stage, and then follow up. And then once they are found culpable, they should not confirm them. This is what would make what we call democracy to be upheld, to be sustained, and to be the best in the eyes of the international community. But when we ridicule ourselves in this manner, there is no way the foreign direct investment we are still talking about will be achieved in Nigeria. No way. That I can tell you for free.
All right.
Thank you.
The speaker made a complaint. I want to know how significant it is about the fact that he said that the government house staff in Port Harcourt was declining to receive correspondence from the house. And can you tell us that the potential consequences that could arise from this situation of the speaker's complaint?
Now, the potential consequences that will arise from this situation is simple. One, there will still be issue of topsy-turvy between the State House Assembly and the governor, since the correspondent has become that they are trying to be a lacuna between both correspondent from one organ and to the other. One, there is every development in terms of approval of the State House Assembly that will be sent to the State House Assembly. They too, they will refuse it. So who would suffer at the end of the day? The people will suffer. So the budget and all those things that will be channeled or communicated to the National Assembly, to the State House Assembly, will not be acknowledged. So whatever happens between the correspondent of one and the other party should be resolved. That is a challenge that both of them will not affect both of them, but it would affect governance and the inhabitants of Rivers State. So I want to believe that the governor will make an amendment, because there's nothing that must have anything to do with however correspondence is taking place, whether bringing any correspondent from the executive arm to the legislator and then bringing from a legislator to the executive. There's nothing of implications or whatever reasons or whatever way you want to look at it in terms of the way it is correspondent. But what would bring challenges between them is the enactment of law, making any bill becoming a law, and then sending a proposal or a bill to the National Assembly. All those ones, through correspondence, may be lacking, and then the governor would make it quiet since the salary is going on and is executing other projects. But the governance, development, and implementations of policies will suffer in the state. So, to me, the people will suffer, not the governor, being the head of arms of executive, and then the speaker, who happens to the representative of the legislative arm of government. So that is what I can pick from that lack of correspondence from both organs of government.
Okay, now we're going to move away a little bit. I want to ask you, how do you think the recent developments in the Rivers State House of Assembly might influence public perception of the political leadership and governance in the state? Bearing in mind that a few days ago, the former governor of Rivers State, that's Nyesom Wike, did mention and apologize to Obwa for not aiding and supporting him to be governor, for possibly aiding and supporting Fubara instead, and he apologized for all of that. Do you think the peace accord...
Again, that is a political statement, okay?
Why so?
It is a political statement because what he had done. But what he's trying to say is just to show that he is regretting his action, not supporting Obwa instead of Fubara. Now, and that is now making it open so that the person that he has supported will feel somehow and feel bad. It is still, the relationship that is going sour gradually between both of them. I will tell you for free, according to what I can project, there is no way both of them will be sustained in the next 4 years. There would always be problem. I can assure you of that. There will always be topsy-turvy between both parties, because one would want to siphon money, the other would not want it, because once anybody approve money illegally, the EFCC will come checking on that ledger, and once they find the lacuna, he will be arrested. You recall that he was accountant general of the state,
yeah,
and he was asked, yes, he was asked to come to the EFCC. Till as we speak, he was unable to go to EFCC before he assumed governorship position. Yes. So where the EFCC still have him in mind on the activities of Nyesom Wike's 8 years governance. Okay, so the man knows all the loopholes, all the problem that the governor had created in the monetary expenditure and monetary enhancement, revenue generation, all those aspects where money were collected and then they cannot fulfill the aspect. If you recall, Boma Goodhead, the former House of Rep member, had accused Governor Wike of collecting $300 million from Shell, and that they can't find the money. Where did Boma get that information from? Don't forget. And Boma gave warning to Wike that he should be very careful, and that Fubara is from Ijo, and this is the first time Ijo is coming on board, and that Wike should be careful. So there are many testimonies that came out from Boma Goodhead, the former House of Rep member, that if you probe further, you would discover that there are issues that has to do with the EFCC's investigation and revealing of what has happened in the past. Given that this Fubara was the former accountant general of the state, okay? So now he's the governor. He knows where the loopholes are. He knows where the problem is in terms of the financial integrity of the state. So he knows how he is going about doing them, and being very careful not to fall into another speed this time around. So don't be surprised. Every action that is being taken is being very meticulous, because he is very careful of what will become of him after leaving office. He is still in the eyes of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. Don't forget that. So that is what I will say on that.
Now, we've always had the case of governors and their predecessors have issues. Now, a lot of issues always come up. They're trying to play godfatherism, but the other person is saying, I have to do what I have to do, shut them out and all of that. But then Wike also came out at some point to say, shunning godfatherism. But a school of thought would say that it's more like what he's trying to impose on Fubara to show him that he made him governor, or maybe to show that he should always be answerable to him. That's Wike. What's your take on godfatherism?
Before I give you my take, there is what is playing on in Edo State now. The man, the new governor had declared, the new governorship aspirant, who happens to be an anointed aspirant under the platform of PDP, by what's it called, the current governor of Edo State, had declared his intention today to contest election against the wish of the deputy governor. Okay, now, when you look at all those things side by side, the case between Yahya Bello of Kogi State and then Ododo and other party members,
yes.
The case between governor of Mimangoro, I don't know if you remember Mimangoro, the former governor of Adamawa State, General Murtala Inyako. The same thing happened in PDP when they fought between him, Jolly Iyame, and then the former governor, I can't remember his name now. They fought and eventually lost that position to the APC before Fintiri now got back that position.
Yes.
You see, what the challenge here? The challenge is simple. The law, that there is a lacuna in the law in the nomination process of who becomes a party candidate. The delegate aspect, there is a challenge there. The nomination process, there is a challenge. The governor, the lacuna of that process is what the governors are taking advantages on. Not only the governorship position, the National Assembly position, so many Nigerians, intellectuals, who would have gotten the ticket of the National Assembly at the Senate, at the Senate level, at the National Assembly level, even at State Assembly level, you will see that majority of all these people, these political office holders, were unpicked by the governor. Why? Because of the lacuna. They will tell you, go to primaries. When you get to primaries, you will just see that, one, there is monetary inducement. Two, there is the weakness of the process. And that is why some of them get to court and win the case, while some get to court, majority goes to court and lose the case because of the influence. So, but when the process is being strengthened in the face of the law, then you will see that those that is going to elect them will not have fear or any favor whatsoever. First of all, governors appoint delegates, okay, and delegates would want to definitely listen to the governor to pick whoever they want to pick, and delegates certainly come from all the local governments that consist of the state. In terms of the governorship, in that federal constituency, all the delegates will come from the constituency that consists of that federal constituency, that will come and vote for the anointed candidate of the governor. So how do you want them to get the people in that place get dividends of democracy? Okay, the same thing happened to all the parties. They would always want to, the oligarchies, I describe them as oligarchies, they will want to pick candidates, and by crook and by every means possible, they want to fix them there. And when they get the general election, they would want to find their way and, put that person to become a winner. That is what happened in the case of Rivers State, and that is what happened in the case of those states that eventually the problem fight broke out between Governor Obaseki and then former Governor Shomole, who happens to be the senator of representing Edo now. So all those things, the lacuna is simply the process with that is weak and in the face of the law, that needs some amendment that the National Assembly knows. But we pray that the National Assembly, with this opportunity, we would use it to say, please, National Assembly, look at the lacuna, look at the process, to see how these things can be changed so that there will be a face of transparency in the process where only the merit gets gets the ticket and then gets to the General Assembly, win election, and then bring dividends of democracy to the people. That is why they would always fight themselves, because the person that has find his way in becoming a government candidate and subsequently wins election, he would tell you that, get what is my interest for me and forget about those who elected you. There are many Nigerians, old, I saw some of them when I went for as an observer, as a guild of public analysts of Nigeria. I saw old people, standing to vote for them. But when it comes to vote for them, they will vote for them after winning the election. Those that handpick them are the person they will first of all give dividends of democracy to. And that has been the problem, and is still happening to today, where the lacuna serves as an advantage to the oligarchies, the governors, making sure they unpick those who never qualified in the first place to become the governor and then become their stooge.
We're hopeful
that's
affecting
the inhabitant.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olusegun Ario. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We hope we get to do this again, same time, same station. Thank you so much. And that's all we can take on Political Voice for today. But do not forget that the views of the guests are entirely theirs, and they do not represent that of Voice of the People TV. Join us tomorrow for another insightful episode of the program. And also do not forget to join us on YouTube. We are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms we are VOP TV Live. Up next is a political roundup by Chioma Innocent. Have yourself a wonderful day. I'm Masinachi Okafor.